Hi, beautiful humans. I am here today with you to talk about the law of vibration, one of the 7 laws of the universe. And first, I'm just going to share a little bit about how I perceive this law and what I experience with it in my life. And after that, we will do a transmission in co creation with our galactic friends and our earthly beings that are not so physical, that want to co-create with us, to help us, to support us in our own shadow integration work. Okay, so let's dive into this law of vibration. Well, in the core, it's very simple. Everything is vibrating, so everything has movement. Even things that seem very dense, like a table or the floor or a tree, everything is moving all the time. And some things that are very solid, they move very slow, and things that are very subtle and for some people also not visible, they're vibrating very high. And when we are talking about frequency, there's a lot of confusion in people. They say, this is such a good vibration, such a good vibe. Or is it a good frequency? So what's the difference? Well, there are two concepts that are meant to go together, because vibration is just saying something is moving. And the frequency is telling us in what speed it's moving. So when it's high frequency, it's moving really fast. And when it's a low frequency, it's moving really slow. And of course, you have like many different speeds. And that's why everything that we perceive has a different color, has a different sound, has a different touch, because that's all based on frequency. For example, the chakra system and the way people perceive that, from the red until the violet, it's that way because it's from the lowest frequency to the highest frequency. So scientifically they can perceive in what way colors oscillate, of trillen in Dutch. And the colors that are vibrating low are like red, orange, and then when you go up, it's more high vibrating colors. So the ones on top, like violet and blue, green, those are more higher vibrational colors. So this is why the palette of colors is what it is, and this is what we see in the rainbow. This is what we see in all the symbolism throughout history. So what does it mean if you have a high frequency? Or what people say, a high vibration, but we really say it's a high frequency. It kind of means that you're oscillating really fast. And most of the time it's not all the parts of yourself, but everyone has like this base core frequency, like the average of your whole system. At what speed do you oscillate? And we also have this average of the earth as a whole, and we call this the Schumann resonance, or the Schumann frequency, because this is like the base tone that the earth is oscillating at. And we can, measure that. So if you're very interested in this, you can look up Schumann resonance or Schumann frequency, and you can also see that the days that this frequency of the earth goes up or down, and then you can feel in your body how you react to it, because we are part of the earth. And if you're wired very sensitive like I am, you can feel these changes in the earth's magnetic field. And for example, when a lot of sun flares are coming, so a lot of light is coming to the earth, most of the time you can see a response in the Schumann frequency, because light from the sun has a very high frequency, and when it comes into contact with our magnetic field, our atmosphere, we start reacting to it. And it's the same like with when you meet someone that has, done so much inner work, and you think maybe they're enlightened, and or a guru of some kind, that you really feel like, wow, this person has a lot of solutions in his system that I don't have. And when you get into contact with that person who has a higher frequency than you are reacting to it as well. So it's the same as the earth and the sun. So when these two fields interact, they start to resonate with each other. So these vibrations, these frequencies, these start to, react to each other. This is what we call resonance. And when you meet someone with a higher frequency, you actually are exposed to more light. And when you are exposed to more light, also more shadow becomes visible. That's the beauty of it, because those two are not separate. They go hand in hand. Even though a lot of people in the spiritual community think they can only do the love and light part. But then the whole other part of the creation and the whole other part of you is neglected, and is actually becoming larger and larger and larger, and it's becoming a monster somewhere locked deep inside your system. It has to come out eventually, if it's a disease or I don't know, whatever form it takes. So when we gain more light, and we can do that through interacting with someone, we can do that just by being and absorbing the light of the sun. We can do that reading something that resonates with you, and you gain more clarity and more consciousness. We can do it by holding a beautiful stone, for example, or a tree, because they also have a very high frequent fields around them, and they carry information. That bring information is actually light. So the things that we can see and perceive and know, those are light, and the things that we not yet are able to perceive and integrate within the whole, we call that shadow. And the beauty is that we cannot do the one without the other, because they're actually the same thing most of the time in a different frequency. And I'm gonna explain this to you, for example, using the shadow of greed. When you know the shadow of greed in your life, like maybe you've had a father or a mother who was just not so giving with their love and their wealth and their money, and they were always thinking, I don't have enough and we need more, and don't give it away because we need it, and I probably pay too much, Everyone has one of those in their family. And some of us know this part in ourselves. Maybe we all do a little bit, and some of us know it in a big way, this part of the shadow. So when you know the shadow of greed, most of the time within your life, you go through a phase where you live that shadow, because it's still unconscious. So you are just a greedy person. And when light is coming into your system, when you start to vibrate at a higher frequency, something becomes visible to you about this part in your life. Oh my God, the way I do things is kind of greedy, So there's this moment that you just perceive it like, oh, okay. So this is the moment that light is shining on your shadow. And how it is there, it doesn't matter. It can be that book, it can be that person, it can just be you evolving. But from the moment that when there's light on your shadow, you are able to see it, so you're also able to change it. And this is such a beautiful thing. And what you see is that the persons who are greedy become in their life the most giving persons. So your shadow is in the core always the gift that you bring to the world. So this is very beautiful, and it's also, if you look at it like this, because it's one system. You are whole, you are in unity, and even the parts that feel separated and feel dark are in fact a part of you that wants to become whole again. So when you perceive your shadow, and it doesn't matter what it is, but when you perceive it within yourself, you think, oh my gosh, this is so ugly or scary, or I don't know how it looks for you. Maybe it's frightening or something you get really sad about, because these are all the low frequent emotions that most of the time go hand in hand with some shadow aspects. So when you perceive your shadow, it's actually a good thing. So you can, celebrate. It's like, oh wow, I am in this stage of my evolution that I can finally see a new part of myself to transform into a gift for the world and for myself. So this is actually really nice. And everyone has shadows, because if we don't have shadows, we are not able to evolve anymore. So we need the shadows to evolve to a higher state of being, and bring our gifts to the world. But where do we go wrong? Where does it get nasty? Because everyone has experiences with their shadow that are really, really not nice. So this is something that we are conditioned to do, and it's not a healthy way to do it. Because normally when we perceive shadow, we think, oh, I have to solve this by myself. This is one thing. Like, I cannot show this to people because this is ugly. This is an ugly part of myself. So I have to do it by myself. But also, most of the time, the shadow parts are separated parts of ourselves. And they are separated for a reason. So most of the time, trauma is something that is underlying your shadow. And when shadow appears again, you are confronted with that same trauma. And it can be a big thing, it can be a small thing. But most of the time, the shadow was banned to the shadow world because you were not able to keep it in the whole. And it can be an experience from this life, from other lifetimes, can even be an experience from like the beginning of the creation, when the first atom split from the whole, or what some people said, like when Lucifer went out on his own, creating his own world and the shadow world, because it was the first part of God that separated. So when we really come back to the core of our shadow, people come back to that core trauma part within their own system. Yeah. So where do we go wrong? Most of the time we go wrong by not moving anymore when we perceive our shadow. So we get stuck in energy. So our nervous system goes into freeze or flight or fight mode, or maybe even the dorsal mode, where we cannot move anymore, where we're just depressed or apathetic. Is that a word? Well, probably. Apathisch in Dutch. So usually when we perceive a large shadow aspect of ourselves, we go into this downward spiral. So something is triggered in our system because it's like, oh, I don't want to feel this. And then we start eating bad. We stop exercising. Maybe you drink an extra beer. Maybe you start looking at TV series that resonate with your shadow frequency, so you get even more into that darkness. And this is something just that's so good to know, because darkness has like a sucking mechanism. It's like the law of attraction. when you start vibrating into these low frequencies, you start attracting low frequencies, you know. This is how it works. So it's good to know that, because sometimes you think, oh my god, it only gets worse and worse, and where do I go? And this is like this dark pit that I just keep slipping into. And it's good to know that this is something that happens to most people. And the people that are moving easily through their lives, they do some things. And it's good to know them as well, of course. And one of those things is soft discipline to yourself. Just remember that it works like this. Okay, I'm in this shadow spiral right now, so I need something with a higher frequency to get me out of this. And I love the symbolism that Matthias de Stefano gives. Like when you're in the low frequencies, you're like in the valley, going through the mud, going through the darkness. But okay, that was my phone, I'm sorry. So we're going through the darkness, and to get out of the darkness, you actually need a bigger vision, or like you have to see where you can go. So you have to go to up the mountain to a higher frequency to have like the overview of the whole valley, and think, this is where I have to go. That is what I have to do. I have to go over that bridge. I have to swim through that river. Because when you stay in the valley, you cannot know where you have to go. You cannot see it. So you have to create something in your life to gain this higher vision, this higher frequency. And how to do that is different for everyone. But most of the time, things work like seeing someone you really like, making connection on a deep level with something or someone, going outside and move, just walk around, sitting in the sun, eating healthy, eating food that has been in the sun, like fruits and, you know, high light vegetables, because when they absorb a lot of light from the sun and you eat it, you gain a lot of light in your system. When you eat McDonald's, something that hasn't seen any light and only saw the shadow of the cow getting murdered, you know, then you bring your vibration down. So stuff like that, holding a really nice crystal with a high frequency also helps. Reading a book that resonates to your higher aspects of self and not to your lower aspects of self. So put away that depressing drama thriller that you were reading and pick something else. So becoming conscious of the frequencies that you surround yourself with and that you take in, so that you can bring your frequency up, so that you gain more perspective, you gain more overview, and you know what to do, what your next steps will be. And when you are there, the fun part is that you fall down again, because this is how it works. This is life. Because when we go down, this is where okay, first we're up here and we gain more clarity, we gain more, most of the time more ground for ourselves by meeting something like a nice therapist or a nice friend or a new lover, and your love field grows, and the containment in yourself also grows. And when that happens, when your containment and your light and your love grows, your shadow becomes visible again. So a new part of you that wants to become whole again thinks, yay, there's room for me now. So it becomes visible, and you think, oh my god, there's another shadow part, and you fall down into the valley, and you have to go through the mud again until you come to that point that you are able to transform your shadow into a higher frequency and do the things that bring you there, and then you are up here again. And knowing that this is the part, this is actually just what life is supposed to be, that helps so much, because then you start moving through it instead of getting stuck in the valley for a really long time, months, weeks, years, and you don't know, well, when is someone gonna pick me out of this. But you have to bring yourself up there yourself, because otherwise you're not learning. And in the end, we're all here to evolve. So that doesn't mean you cannot ask for help, like someone who has that bigger overview to help you get there, because this is actually a good thing. But from the inside, we have to make the choice that we want to go out of this shadow aspect. And this is very important. And what really helps to get there is to put the energy in motion. So feel your emotions, the energy in motion. Most of the time we cannot get out of our shadow parts without feeling the emotions that are accompanied with it. So how did it feel to have a greedy dad, you know? How does it feel to feel that lack inside your own system where your own greed comes from? Can you really allow yourself to dive deep into that darkness within yourself and to feel it and feel the accompanied emotions that go with it? Because those emotions bring the energy in motion. And this is what makes you possible to move through that valley up that mountain. And this is what a lot of people are just, afraid or unable to do. And so asking some help with that in the places when you're really low is always a good thing. Yeah. The last thing I'm gonna share about this law of vibration and the way we can work with shadow and frequency is that a lot of people in the spiritual scene, it seems like they all want to go to a higher frequency all the time. And if that's your main goal, and it has been quite some time within myself, you will notice that time goes really fast. Because when you start, vibrating really fast, time goes really fast as well. So it's like, whoa, the next thing is coming, and then the other thing is coming, and then there's another thing you go through, and there's another shadow you go through, and it can be a lot for your system. So it's just something to be conscious of, that low frequency doesn't mean bad frequency. Low vibrating people doesn't mean bad people. You have very good-hearted people that vibrate on a low level, that are just moving slower through life and through their own evolution. But is that a bad thing? Because this was my own mind insight, or how do you say it, epiphany that I had. Like, if I'm always aiming for the high frequency, life goes by like this, and I'm going through a lot of valleys and a lot of highs, but it feels like I'm in a roller coaster all the time. And I don't like that so much, because this is my life now, and I live now, and I actually want to enjoy it. I want to be in the here and the now, and I want to enjoy it. So life can move a little bit more slow for me now. So sometimes now when I perceive something like a shadow part that is a possibility for me to evolve in, normally I was like, oh, I see a shadow, woof, I have to go into it, I have to go through it, and well, there I'm better off out again, but now I think like 1/3 of the time I perceive something within myself or someone I encounter, and I think like, yeah, it's there, that's okay, that's just who I am, And there's already so much evolving in my life. I have so much to hold already within me and within my life. I don't need to go to dive deep into another shadow aspect of me. I'm doing more than enough right now. So it's like a healthy boundary in your own evolutionary path. Like, how fast do you want to evolve? And this is up to you. You can choose how fast you want to evolve. This is also something I always say to the students at School of Life. Like, they get a lot of courses that give the possibility to change a lot in a short moment of time. But when you are full and you just went through a really big process and you sit in another class, you can just, shut off your system in a way that you, not shut off, but give a healthy boundary within your system that you just say to yourself, I do enough already, so I'm not taking on any new self-developmental themes right now. So I'm just taking all the information in at like a superficial level, but I don't have to dive deep all the time. And I know this is true for some people, but you also have the people that are on the other side of the spectrum, of course, the people that never dive deep, that seem to stay on the superficial level. And for you, it's good to look at your personal intentions, like how clear are you with yourself, how trustworthy are you with yourself. And on the other side, what keeps you from diving deep? Is there something holding you back because you're doing it too much by yourself, because you don't have the right surroundings, the right containment in your life? So it's good to look at those aspects. Okay, so let's go to the transmission to receive the light codes that will support us with this shadow integration in a healthy way into our lives.